if I could ground that moment of doing one of the hardest things in my entire life on the hardest day, that the rest of my life wouldn't be so bad. And I shoot him a text, and he calls me middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way.
What's going on, guys? Austin Zaback here with another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today we have a very special guest, Danny Klein, and I'm excited to jump into your story, man, how you got to where you're at. You know, you work for one of the biggest sales training platforms in probably the world, and you're connected with really, really big names, and I'm just excited to peel back the onion, figure out how you got to where you're at, man, and just provide a bunch of value to the audience.
Sweet, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. So we were talking a little bit before the show, and you said you've been working. So basically, tell me a little bit about like what you do now, you know, the company you work with, the people you work with, and then we'll kind of peel back the onion and go back in time a little bit.
Yeah, so I work for a guy named Andy Elliott and Jacqueline Elliott. We have a sales training platform. We have a sales training company. Pretty much all we do is we train salespeople, all different industries across the country. Right now, currently training over 10,000 different dealerships and different companies, solar, insurance, you name it. And what I do day to day is I'm doing training Zooms. I'm doing stuff like this. I'm traveling, building the brand, and I'm selling. My biggest thing is like I like to stay on the front lines, and what we preach is even Andy a lot of times is still selling. I think a lot of guys grow really big, and they step off the front lines. They want to kind of peel back. So I like selling day to day, but I'm also doing Zoom calls, trainings, and leading our team.
I love that, dude. So how did you get to running? You know, obviously Andy Elliott, big name, right? Like this is a dude that you see on social media. If you're scrolling, right, I've seen him a million times. And he's in some way, shape, or form partnered up with the real Brad Lee, right?
Yes.
So like, how you've been working with them for what, 2.5 years?
Yep, about 2.5 years now.
So how did that come about? Like, what were you doing previous to that?
Yeah, so I was actually selling cars. I was selling cars in Virginia, a little city called Fredericksburg, Virginia, about an hour north of Richmond. And before that, I was actually delivering Chinese food. I dropped out, and we'll get into that. But I was selling cars, and COVID had just hit. And I was like, dude, I'm going to get laid off. They're going to fire me. You know, like car dealership, right? Yeah. They're like, hey, COVID's hitting. We're going to lay off the floor if you're not producing, like old school sales team. So I go on YouTube. I type in car sales training. Andy Elliott pops up.
No way.
I'm like, oh, shit, okay. And all the training was better than I was getting inside of the dealership. And that night when I watched 3 videos, stayed up all night watching a bunch of different videos, and I get like my first $7,000 deal, which was like a $1,500 commission. And I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my dad, getting my ass kicked, just trying to make $3-4 grand a month. And I'm like, dude, this guy is the way. And so I reach out and I text him. He's like, hey, shoot me a text, man, 918-210-0254. And I shoot him a text, and he calls me middle of the day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way. And he only had about 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, but it's like, you never think that someone's going to call you off of YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I ended up just starting some training right then and there. I always say getting closed by Andy Elliott was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
Yeah. What was the, tell me about that phone call. Like, what was that like? You know?
It was crazy. He's actually a really chill dude. It wasn't really a high pressure close like you would kind of think, because he's an intense guy. He's very empathetic. He's very understanding. He really wanted to listen to, what I was going through. And then he provided a solution and was like, hey, listen, if you're already getting wins off of the YouTube and you made a $1,500 commission, what do you think would happen if you invested in my program? And I was like, well, if you got a good program, we'll win. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. I love that. So what were you doing? You said, so at that point you're in Virginia, COVID's hitting, you're selling cars, right?
Yeah.
What were you doing previous to that? Because you talked about being a Chinese delivery guy.
So the whole story that we tell, and it's really real. I was delivering Chinese food in 2018 and 2019 after I dropped out of school. Initially I dropped out. I went to school for a semester. I went just to kind of go to, just to appease your parents. You're like, hey, go to school, get a degree, be successful. And, I'm just lost as an 18-year-old. I'm like, dude, whatever. So I go to school, partying, playing video games, smoking weed. I turned into just a piece of shit. Just turned into one of those kids. And I think we've all had a phase like that, but I realized that. I was like, dude, I can't go down this path. I don't want to be around these people. Like, I'm not learning the right things I know I need to be learning. And that's a whole different topic. Just like college in itself for me, I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, I can learn more on YouTube. I can learn more from Google searching stuff I want to learn, high income skill sets, than going to college. And ended up dropping out, lost myself for about a year. It's probably a year. Fortnite, video games, dude, just complete loser. And then finally I was like, okay, well, I have to get a job. I can't just live in my dad's apartment. We're all just, really not making a whole lot of money. So started delivering Chinese food. Did that for about a year or so, making $3 grand a month, working literally 6-7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then finally one of my buddies from high school were working out. And I used to be the captain of the wrestling team. And he was on JV. And this was a big perspective for me where I was like, fuck, dude, I'm going down the wrong path. So I'm working out, and I see him. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? What's going on? And he's like, man, I'm doing good. I'm selling cars. And I'm like, I'm delivering Chinese food, you know? And he's like, dude, you need to sell cars, man. And I'm like, he's like, I'm killing it. And I'm like, what's that mean? Because I'm making like $3 grand. I'm thinking like $5 grand is killing it.
Sure.
He's like, I made $15,000 last month. Wolf of Wall Street moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, you show me a check for $15,000, I'll quit my job right fucking now. I'll come and work for you.
Yep.
Little I know, his dad was a GM. So his dad hires me, really great guy, Jeff. Shout out to Jeff for giving me I couldn't be here without Jeff or without Andy, so shout out to those guys. And yeah, he just gave me a shot and struggled for a few months and then found Andy and just started kind of, really stacking those wins, scaled to $20,000, $30,000 a month selling cars, and then landed with him.
Did you ever think at any point you would be like, you would have progressed? Because that was a progression that, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, happened fairly quickly, right? So
Very
like
fast.
when you were in that moment of, the Fortnite and stuff, and then you go to making a couple $3 grand a month, right? Like, was there ever a time where you felt like there was something more, like you were destined for something bigger?
I always felt that in my heart, and I knew I was just kind of downplaying. I think I kind of just took the back seat. A lot of people, we just coast through life, and that's what we preach. And kind of what I go through is what we call it's total recreation. And I had to have a moment where I just decided to really, really wake up and really change. And what happened after delivering Chinese food and the Fortnite and stuff, between not doing anything and working, it was pretty much the same thing for me. Because when you're making $3 grand versus whatever, it's still not really where you want to be, because I'm envisioning myself to be this person, but my actions don't reflect it. So I'm just lying to myself.
Sure.
And then when I get into car business, what really made me really change, my dad actually ended up passing away, drowned in a pool about a year and a half, 2 years ago. That's what really made me change. I always tell people, don't wait for some bad shit to happen to wake up. And that's what it really took for me, to really find that next level, because I was doing better selling cars, but to the level I am at now is 10 times even when I was selling cars.
Wow. And it's such a tragic loss, and you never want anybody to go through something like that, right? What did that do? What happened? When that happened, I mean, what was your frame of mind? I mean, was it? I mean, it's totally natural for somebody to go in a dark place for a while. Like,
yes.
It sounds like at some point though, that was an opportunity for you to say, and I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but at some point it sounded like an opportunity for you to say, man, like, I want to make him proud, or I want to
100%.
I want to level up. Like, I really want to take my life to the next level.
That was the defining moment for me. And for me, it was like, dude, now is the time. Like, there's nothing holding you back. Because I would take care of him. He had some disabilities and stuff. And it was like, okay, dude, like, now it's your time to go to war. Like, you got nothing else holding you back. You got no excuses. And it's just time to become the most elite version of yourself.
What do you think the difference is? Most people, when something bad happens, and bad things happen, everybody's different, right? And,
100%.
And bad things look different to everybody. But what's the difference, in your opinion, between somebody that has something horrible happen to them and it takes them out of commission, compared to somebody where something really horrible happens and it makes them who they are? Like, what's the difference in your opinion?
I think it's just a story you tell yourself. I think everybody has a different perspective on things. And not that I didn't grieve and go through some stuff, but I had to realize I was either going to go through and I was going to become, even more of a piece of shit and even more of a loser. And then I was going to okay, was I just going to sit in that position my whole life? Or was I going to decide to say, hey, you know what? Let me at least take this moment and build it to where I was going to become. The day after he passed away, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, went and hit the gym. I remember crying in the gym, but I knew if I could ground that moment of doing one of the hardest things in my entire life on the hardest day, that the rest of my life wouldn't be so bad.
It's powerful, man. I got the goosebumps you can't see because I'm wearing a jacket. But, dude, I think it's really powerful, and I think that there's a lot of people in the world that need to hear that, right? Like, there's people watching and listening right now that either are going through something hard or they're about to go through something hard, and they might not even realize that, right? What advice would you have? You said a little while ago, like, hey, man, like, don't wait for that thing before you change, right? That's what you said, like, elaborate on that a little bit.
It takes something bad to happen for someone to usually wake up. Generally, people coast through life, and they're around average people, and they're around average opinions. And even their family, their friends, their circle, we talk about, your closest 5 friends or who you are. I mean, it is the truth. Even your family is telling you, oh, be safe, be careful, oh, don't do that. It's like, listen, that's not going to define me. I always think of myself as I have this bubble around me, and nothing penetrates it.
Yeah.
I would tell you guys, just don't wait for something bad to happen to wake up. Decide to become the person you want to become now. Everybody has an envisionment or has a idea of who they want to be, just like you did when you first started in real estate. When I first started, getting commissions selling cars, you get a glimpse of it. But a lot of times people, they backslide because they don't think they're worth it. When the reality is you're whatever you think you are. I thought I was worth it even when I was really not doing a whole lot. I knew I just needed an opportunity. I needed a vehicle. And a lot of you guys, you're just not in the right vehicle yet. If you go in the right vehicle, I think sales is the right vehicle. It's the way out for almost anybody. And if you guys are looking to just for an easy way out, the car business is a great job. Anything in sales is a great job. Real estate is a great way out to go and just to dig yourself out of whatever position you're in. So I would just say, just go hard. Become the person you want to become now. Recreate today.
Talk to me a little bit about your childhood. When you were little, like what did that look like? Was it an ordinary home? Was it what did that look like?
Yeah, so I would say it was an ordinary type of home. I was the youngest in my family, even through my cousins and extended family. I was definitely the youngest of probably almost 8 years. Sister's about 8 years older. Brother is 10 years older. And parents divorced when I was about 8. Okay. So sister and brother were pretty much out by the time that they were going through the divorce. So the parents split up. House got dispersed. Got a house over here. Dad split apartment. Just crazy situation. Went back to zero on both sides, watched both of my parents struggle. So I think a big reason why I'm the way I am today, going through the stuff that I went through, is because I kind of almost raised myself. And in reality, because they're always at work and they're doing things. I didn't get the babysitter. I had to go and start figuring out. I wanted a skateboard. I remember mowing lawns and knocking doors to just buy a skateboard to be able to go and do things. But yeah, pretty much raised myself, just going through with divorced parents. And there's no traditional family dinners really. Pops always cooked for me, but on the mom side there wasn't really a whole lot of what you'd expect for a traditional family, because single mother, single father, they're just hustling, trying to be able to support for the bills they got.
It's interesting. I grew up with my grandparents, very similar. Parents divorced. They never wanted kids really. I moved into my grandparents' garage, right? Like, raised myself, made a bunch of money when I was a kid. A lot of trauma, right? Moral of the story, a lot of trauma, right? Yeah. And a lot of trauma for you. Even in the moment, like looking back, everybody has trauma. But I think that after talking to so many people in my life, like a lot of really highly successful people had the most trauma when they were growing up. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
we always say the people that have had the least or whatever can end up with the most. And that's just because of the person that you've become. I think that we call it the chip on your shoulder. Like, you have a chip on your shoulder, not to necessarily prove everybody, right or wrong, but to do it for yourself. And that was my whole thing, is I wanted to go out to do it for myself. I don't really care about the haters. I know some people drive off that. I have a chip on my shoulder to go and prove to myself who I really think I am. Because a lot of people, they say they're something, but look in the mirror, they know that they're really not giving all they got. They're really not who they say they are, because behind closed doors, that's who you really are.
Do you think it's possible, for somebody to grow up, have a great childhood, phenomenal family, phenomenal parents, phenomenal everything, everything's just picture perfect, and them go to be this highly ambitious, just dude or woman that just has grit and resilience and does it take trauma? Does it take bad things happening to a person to achieve that level of success?
I don't think so, no. In the grand scheme of things, like, even though I had a bad situation, again, it goes back to perspective. I didn't really think my life was all really that bad. Even though I've had some bad things happen, my perspective was like, oh, it's just going to build me to make me stronger. So no, I don't necessarily think that. And I think Alex Hormozy said something in a video or something on YouTube where he says the most highly and successful people all believe that they're a little better than everybody else deep down. And if you have that inside of you, not in an egotistical way where you're, cocky and walking around like you're the shit, but you have it inside of you believing that, like, you can always do more. And I think if you had that trait inside of you, that you'll always go and find that person if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah. But do you think that a person's born with that? I mean, like, where does that come from, right?
I think that you definitely increase the odds and increase that if you were to take two people and duplicate that 10 times over, I think 9 times out of 10, the guy with the chip on his shoulder is going to win more. Yeah.
I agree. I think everybody has trauma, right? I think that if you've ever wanted to get into wholesaling real estate and you want to learn how to flip contracts and wholesale, right? Maybe you're brand new, maybe you've never wholesaled a deal, or maybe you're even doing a couple of deals a month right now, but you want to learn how to do more. Instead of joining my coaching program or somebody else's coaching program, we're actually looking to hire So go ahead and message me 480-418-5339 and send me a text message opportunity. Okay, so if you want to work with me, you want to work with my incredible team, you want all of our leads, you want all of our systems, all of our processes, everything, right? And I've done about 2,000 wholesale deals in my career. Then go ahead, shoot me a text, 480-418-5339, and message me opportunity. And look, especially if you're in my state, okay, the state of Arizona. If you live in Arizona and you want to get into wholesaling, this especially is an opportunity for you, because you can come sit right in this office with my entire team and be a part of one of the biggest wholesaling companies in the country. I look forward to talking to you. You chose to look at your trauma as not, I don't want to say a positive, but you chose
opportunity to grow.
Exactly, right? Like you chose to look at it as, well, it's not that bad, right? It could be worse, right? But other people wouldn't do that. I mean, there's people out there that the littlest thing could happen, and to them, it's the end of the world, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm and they fall into the victim mentality.
Yep, the victim mentality. They put a story on themselves, they put a leash on themselves, and they put themselves in this box. I always talk about people put them a label on themselves. I'm an introvert, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. They put themselves in these labels, and it's hard to escape those labels that you put on yourself. Oh, I've gone through so much, and it's like, listen, you're the one writing your story, so you get to tell yourself whatever you want to believe, and that's just the truth. And I never told myself those things, even though I used to have raging anxiety. I remember telling a story. I remember taking Xanax to have to do a speaking class in college, because I was like just so anxious because I put that label on myself. And it's like, now, dude, I'm just excited to go out and talk to whoever and speak and train and be on Zoom calls with hundreds of people.
Do you still, as it pertains particularly to that example that you gave, do you still feel the same feeling, but you figured out a way to view it differently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not that it's gone, but competence creates confidence. So if you know more about the things that you're talking about, you understand yourself more, then it creates confidence. But I think that people that are wired that way, I actually think it's a gift, because it allows me to stay kind of crazy. Like, you probably have it running inside of you, because it's this anxious paranoia that you feel like you're missing out on something, or something's not right, or something can be done quicker, or someone's coming to beat you. So I always have it running inside of me, but it doesn't paralyze me like it did before. I just learned how to control it.
That's so important. The very last couple words you said, you learned how to control it, right? Les Brown made a video, or maybe it was Eric Thomas. It might have been Eric Thomas. He made a video a while back. He said, look, and you know Eric Thomas, right?
Yeah.
The hip hop preacher,
E.T. And he did an event with him at Driven.
Did he really? Dude,
our whole team threw Eric Thomas in the air.
No way.
At the Driven event. Yeah.
Wow, dude, I gotta go.
I'll have to send you the video.
You gotta send me the video.
Yeah.
So Eric made a video a long time ago. He said, man, to this day, I still get nervous when I go up in front of people. And he said, I'm grateful for it, right?
Yeah.
He said, because it causes me to over-prepare and deliver my absolute best. He's like, if I wasn't nervous, he's like, I wouldn't be the best.
Yeah.
Right? And and what you said goes hand in hand with that. It's this concept of, dude, and I'm the same way, bro. Like, if I'm sitting, I have a rule where I can't be in my home if the sun's out. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I can't do it, dude. Like, my girlfriend will tell you, like, if the sun is out and I'm in my home, I like get horrible anxiety. Like, I feel like it's the way I'm wired, bro. I gotta get out.
A lot of people can view it as a curse, though.
A lot of people could.
It's a gift.
It's a total gift, man. And I love what you said, and I think people need to hear that, because I think a lot of people, like, I might have been Jordan Peterson I was listening to recently, and he said there's only something wrong with you if you think there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
Right? And I think it just goes hand in hand with what you're saying, right? It's like we convince ourselves that there's something wrong, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
then therefore there is, right? Of course. You've convinced yourself there's something wrong with you, as opposed to saying, nah, man, this is a blessing.
Yep.
Like, this is awesome. I'm gonna lean into it, right? I love that, dude. So
it's like the old saying, if you think you're right, you're right. If you think you're wrong, you're wrong. No matter what you're learning, where you're at, whatever you think, you're right.
1,000,000%. I could not agree more. So fast forward now, you go, you start working with Andy, or you start selling. Let's actually go to this car sales thing. So I want to talk about this a little bit real quick.
Yeah.
What kind of cars were you selling at the time?
I sold Toyota. I sold Ford for a few months right before I got hired with Andy. But yeah, I sold Toyota for a good chunk of my time.
And what were you making there? What was your biggest month?
My biggest month was about 27,000.
Wow.
I'm just shy of like 28.
What was one of the biggest things in that moment? And we'll fast forward in a minute. But when you were doing that, what enabled you or helped you do that? What were some things you were doing?
My biggest thing is when I first started training with Andy, it wasn't necessarily the skills that he taught me, but the mindset shift. I'll tell you a story. My first seminar that I went out to when I was like 6 months selling cars, I was selling about 10 a month, making about $4,000. And I fly out to a seminar. It's the 9th, and the seminar is the 10th and the 11th. I fly back, and I end up selling like 20 more cars. I am selling like 23 cars, make my first like $20,000 check. And it was like, boom. And it wasn't all the training that he taught me. I used a few things that helped me, but it was the mindset. It was the ability to, again, alter and change. I just decided to become that person, to become somebody different. And a lot of times we need a situation, or we need someone to shake us up, or we need to go to an event or a seminar. It's not always something you need to do. You just need to say, you know what? I'm fucking sick and tired of being where I'm at and the person I am. So a big thing was just that mindset shift, and then also continuing with training, because you'll go up and down. You have to have training to back it up.
Where did you learn the communication skills? You know, here you are, you're getting your mind right, you're getting trained from him, you're now selling cars. Were you always good at communicating with people?
I've always had, like, I guess my heart in the right place, to just connect with people and slow down. I always tell people, slow down and speed up. You know, if you really want to get more deals, you got to learn to really connect with that person. And I always just really had a good interest in just connecting with people. I have a weird ability to really understand people, and I think that's something that I was born with, or whatever my surroundings were. Really good understanding to read somebody very, very quick. I've always had that.
Emotional intelligence, right? Yeah, being able to identify, somebody's tonality and their body language and what they're saying and how they're saying it and their background and where they came from and why they are the way that they are, and then talk to them in that regard, right? Like, you got to be a chameleon. I always say the best salespeople are a chameleon.
Oh, I'm a total chameleon. If I get someone that's 50 years old, I get someone that's an owner that has 10 stores, or I get a salesperson that's fresh on the line, I can connect with that person in 30 seconds just based off knowing. I've been in so many different situations and walks of life, and it goes back to the thing that you said, like going through a lot of stuff. I've been through so many situations that it's not necessarily that I'm faking it or I'm a chameleon. I've actually been in those shoes. I've just learned to take those micro moments and just store them inside to be able to pull them out when I want to connect with somebody.
I love that. What would your advice be to somebody that maybe isn't as good at communicating? Like they think they're, for some reason, they're shy or they're timid or they're an introvert. Like, how does that person become better at that?
Very, very simple answer. Just to train. You know, it's like if you want to learn more about a subject and you want to get better at something, you have to train. And if you're in sales, anybody that's in sales, you are a public speaker. I'm sorry. You may not think you're a public speaker, but you are a public speaker. You speak for a living, whether it's one person, whether it's 1,000 or 10,000. You speak to people for a living, and that's how you get paid, is to convince people that sell you no and get them to say yes. So I would just say, like, you have to practice and train. I like to record myself. I do all my calls recorded. I go back and watch all my Zoom calls, even to this day, to see where I can improve. Even though I think that, I'm killing, I'm closing every deal. It's like, listen, you're missing a few deals, and why are you missing those deals? So I'm going to go back, stuttered there, I've rushed the process here, or there's too much friction in my objection handling right here. That's how you improve, is by, like, watching the gameplay. Kobe Bryant trained often. He trained 4 times a day, like 2 hours each time. He was training more than anybody else. And there's another saying that that talent, what is it? Lazy talent gets outbeat by average, hard workers.
Agreed,
all day long. And that was me. And I've naturally been somewhat talented, and I always have to, this is my thing, as I know myself so well. For all you guys, you have to understand yourself. I'm naturally a little lazy. That's why, and I think I've used that as my strength too as well, because I find creative ways to do things. But I always have to be aware, saying, dude, don't be lazy. Make sure you still show up every day and do the work. So at the end of the day, record yourself, practice, whatever your career is. If you're in real estate, what's your presentation like? Are you being able to connect with people? Don't blame it on the market. Don't blame it on the leads. Don't blame it. Just look at yourself in the mirror and say, listen, it's me, bro. I'm the only reason that I'm going to get further, or I'm going to be behind.
What would you say the biggest thing that people do wrong in sales would be? Like, where do people screw it up? Just generally speaking.
They try to learn the techniques and things versus bettering themselves. The reason that you've probably gotten as far as you've gotten is because you've bettered yourself. You've gotten better in your physical and your mental and in your business. You learn to slow down, to speed up again. So it's like, you have to do those things.
Yeah, I think people, man, overcomplicate the heck out of it too, right? Like you the moral of what I heard too is like, hey, like, just get good at communicating. Like, you got to be able to talk to people, man.
It's crazy. Everybody's looking for a secret technique or a secret course or a secret thing, when in reality, this is all common sense. The way that Andy sells and the way that our team sells, it's common sense selling. We're just calling out the way that you're already thinking now, and we're just being straight to the point. Things have changed, times have changed. It's almost 2023. COVID's happened. People don't want to come in stuff. They want to do stuff on the phone. They want to buy over links. Like, you got to learn to be really direct, really transparent, and you got to really learn to connect with people, because people don't have that anymore. That's why people don't want to talk to you, because you can't connect with them. They can't make you feel important or significant.
Every time I go on a car lot, bro, and somebody walks out, they're like, like as soon as they start coming, I'm like, I'm just looking, Like, what's the objection to that?
Oh, I'm just looking?
Yeah, I'm just looking.
You can take it a few different ways. If they're like, as soon as they walk on the lot, they're like, oh, hey, I'm just looking. You could take, what are you looking for? Are you just looking for a car or SUV? You could take it old school. We have an I'm just looking word track after they go through a test drive, where you could say, hey, or they're like, hey, I need to think about it. Right, here's a good one. Let's just say you go through the whole process and they're like, hey, I need to think about it. This is a good one too. Say, of course you need to think about it, man. I haven't given you enough information not to think about it, Austin. What I'd like to do is put together a quick 5-minute proposal with all the facts and figures. That way when you go home, you truly have something to think about. Would that be fair?
Wow. Yeah, of course. And I love what you said at the very end. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
I do that one too.
We teach like quick pops.
Yeah.
So, you want to try to overcome it quick before you sit there and go through all the techniques and word tracks. And there's tons and tons of different word tracks for all of our stuff. And right now it's crazy. Learning car sales objections, word tracks, solar word tracks. So we're building all the training. So my brain goes to solar, my brain goes to insurance, to all these things that we're learning and building out, because we're recording content for our Lightspeed.
I love the would it be fair. Because when you're like, would it be okay, or like whatever, then no, it wouldn't be okay.
Yeah, dude.
But would it be fair? Well, yeah, I guess it's fair, right?
Would that offend you in any way? If I got you the numbers, so that way you could go home, you could have a discussion with your wife, so you could really sit down and think about, what you're really trying to do. Would that offend you in any way, Austin? Would that be fair? Could I do that for you?
Of course.
Just quick 5 minutes. You bring them inside, you give them the write-up. Guess what? At the end of the day, you present everything. They're buying a car. You got a few more objections to overcome, but you're going down the process.
You are. Yeah, I love that, dude. What's the one thing that Bradley, he's made videos on it before. He's like, give them 3 options, and they can only choose 2.
Oh, yeah. It's
do you know that one?
I don't know it off the top.
You want it done fast?
And cheap. Fast and cheap.
Or what's the third one? You can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it good. Is it good?
Yeah.
I think it's good, fast, or cheap, but you can't have all 3.
Oh, pick 3. Good, fast, or cheap. And they're like, well, if you pick good, and cheap, or
it can't be fast.
Yeah.
So if it's good and cheap, it can't be fast. If it's fast and cheap, it won't be good. Right? I like that one, dude. I think Bragg Lee is I've been following him for a long time. We were talking before the show, but he's one of the most raw, I think, people on social media from what I've seen.
Yeah, he's blowing up. He's going and he's building Real Financial. Shout out to all our Real Financial guys, Real Solar, and now Real Merchant Services. So he's bleeding in all these spaces, and it's just because of his brand. Now he's had a skill set to build all these businesses, but his brand has allowed him to bring in people by the masses. And I think for a lot of the companies out there that are trying to pull leads or trying to do these things, you got to learn to build a brand. And just like the badass brand that you've built out of the gate, I've seen you on social media. It's like that. It speaks volumes, and you command respect when you go into meetings and when you go to bring people in. It makes everything way easier because you don't have to sell yourself, or you don't have to sell people every single time, because your brand sells itself.
What would your advice be on building a brand? I see you're doing a lot lately in terms of video content.
First tip I would give people on building a brand is have something good to say. Nobody talks about this. Have some value. Have some specific skill sets. Everyone wants to be good at everything. Oh, I'm doing e-commerce and crypto and this. Okay, you mean you're broke? You mean you're broke? You mean you're not doing anything? It means you're not good at anything. I would much rather be an expert or enthusiast or a specific niche or industry than anything else. No one wants to deal with somebody who's doing 10 different things and isn't the best at one thing. But if you're the best at one thing, you're the best at real estate, short sale, wholesale, whatever it is, you're the guy. And you can actually there's such a big market for niches. Like what Andy says is, know your niche, get rich.
Yeah.
It's just the truth. And a lot of people say that, but it's just the truth. So I would say, and I said this on a podcast like last week with Victor Rancourt, community, clarity, and consistency. Those 3 things are going to build your brand. So be consistent in your likes, in your comments, in your replying, in your engagement. Build a community of people, build a Facebook group, build a raging fans like Alex Hormozy says, and have some clarity. Do people know who you are, where you're at, how great at what you do? Do they know exactly what you do as soon as they look at your page? Bro, you got 5 seconds for someone to look at your page and realize, do I want to follow this person back? Do I like what he does? Can I know exactly what he does? So clarity, community, and consistency are the 3 C's that you need to go and win and build a brand. But the first and biggest thing is have some value. You can't trick the market. It's 2023. There's social media. There's gurus. People can tell the difference between people that have real followers, fake likes, real likes, comments. You got 20 different You got 20 comments with all the same emoji. Yeah. People can tell nowadays, and all that does is devalue what you're doing. So have some real value, and then guess what? You'll blow up because the world is dying for that. That's why Brad Lee has really blown up, and that's why Andy Elliott has really done a great job, is because he's just real. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. He's not going to tell the people, oh, here's what you need to hear. Yeah. He tells people what they don't want to hear, but exactly what they need to hear.
Yeah, you get haters that way, and then you get a lot of fans. You get a lot of raving fans, right?
Both are good.
Same with Grant Cardone. Look at anybody though that's ever achieved anything, right? Look at Donald Trump. Look at Donald said one time, he said, if you want to be the next president of the United States, you need 50% of the world to hate you. Yeah. Right? And I love the way he said that, right? I'm like, all right, dude, this is the truth, right? Yeah. If you want to build a massive brand, 1 out of every 2 people have got to not like you. Yeah. Because if everybody likes you, you're not doing it very big, right?
People generally on social media, when they're making content, they're not polarizing. People don't, they water down their opinions or their voice because they want everyone to like them. Yeah. Versus like, if I get a few hater comments or, whatever, dude, a few unfollows, good, bro. That means they weren't going to buy anything anyway, just like Cardone says. Yeah. But, it all comes down to just really having something good to say.
Do you think everything is sales in life?
Yeah, you're selling. I mean, if you got kids, you're selling your kids to go to sleep. You're selling them to brush your teeth. Yep. You're selling your girlfriend to stay with you every single day. The minute that you stop selling and stop growing is the minute you're dying. And then guess what? At the end of the day, I'm going to ask you a question. Is your organization, are you a 100% sales organization? If you don't sell anything, do you make money? Yes or no? If the answer is no, hey, welcome to sales. You got a t-shirt shop? You better sell some damn t-shirts.
You're a dentist, you got to sell yourself. Yeah. Why are you the best dentist, right? You're a doctor, sell yourself. Why are you going to do my knee surgery? Yeah. I'll use that guy over 100%. There, right? Everybody's in sales, and I think people don't realize that, right? Like, you're always selling.
We hear it all the time on the phone. Oh, I'm not in sales, or oh, I'm not in car sales, or I don't do this. And at the end of the day, you want to learn the people skills to be successful. It ain't it's 90% people skills, 10% product knowledge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You put in one of the questions when we did the pre-questionnaire, that basically, and one of it was like, an individual can't be beat, or an individual can be beat.
Yes.
A team can't be beat. And I say that differently. I have another saying for it. It's you can go fast alone, but you can go far with people. Yep. Right? So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so everything is built by our team. We got a team of about 60 guys down in Scottsdale, Arizona. We have guys that are just absolutely killing it, running around, doing the same things I'm doing. They're flying across the country, training dealerships, training businesses. Andy's speaking. We're all building. It's the Elliott Group for a reason. What Andy's built, he's allowed us to be able to have our own brands. For me to be able to have a fast track to even be here with this table, with you. But yeah, an individual can be beat, but a team, can't be beat. A team that is all on the same mission. It's like SEAL Team 6 versus a giant army or a giant military. Why is a SEAL Team 6 so lethal? Well, it's because they're a unit. They're a team that's going in on one mission and one vision.
I agree, man. I've been preaching that forever. Like, you can't. There's so many people in the world right now in entrepreneurship. They want to do it alone.
They want to think that
they want
to
live
in
Bali, Indonesia.
It's ego and entitlement.
They want a friggin' Lamborghini. I'm gonna make a video soon. I'm gonna walk around my office and I'm gonna walk by like each person's desk and I'm gonna be like, "There's a Lamborghini. There's a Lamborghini." Yeah. Like, I'm gonna walk up to my printer. Like, there's a Mercedes Benz. Because like, I know a lot of people that have a Lambo and work out of their apartment.
100%.
Right, and it's $3,000 a month to own a Lamborghini, bro. Yep. Like, it's not a lot of money.
I saw you
right?
actually talk about this. That's what I really like. Dude, it's just the fucking truth, man. Everybody has a fantasy of like, oh, this is what it's to be successful, and then you get a car and you're like, dude, and this really ain't nothing.
I could care less.
But people want to do it on their own because they have ego and entitlement, and that's why they never actually really go and make it. Yeah. Oh, you look at all the successful people, whether they put their team on the map to go with them or they're behind the scenes. The best people that have grown the largest and most badass businesses have a team. Yeah. And if you want to grow fast, put your team on the map. Drop your fucking ego. Drop your entitlement and grow the people around you. Leaders make leaders. What Andy's taught us to be is leaders.
Andy did a phenomenal job at that, and I can hear it in the way that you're talking, and I can see it, obviously, and I can just feel it being here. What do you think he did differently? Because I think a lot of leaders, I don't know if they do it intentionally or not, but they get this sense of like, if you're a real estate agent or a real estate wholesaler, then you know that lead generation is one of the most important aspects to any business. You know that you have to consistently generate leads on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That way your team has people to call, and that way you're constantly getting new opportunities in your company. I actually partnered up with a company called Rocket Lead Services, and they have VAs that are outbound cold calling on your behalf every single day. In my experience, there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads as an agent or as a wholesaler. You can do pay-per-click, you can drive for dollars, you can do text messaging, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so much more. In my experience, I believe that cold calling is by far the number one way to generate leads in 2022. Not only is it my favorite way, but it is the highest ROI from what I've ever found. So Rocket Lead Services is one of the best companies out there for doing just that. They have virtual assistants that get assigned to you and to you only that are constantly calling motivated sellers to generate leads for your business. Again, this is for anybody looking to generate seller leads for their business. This is for a solo real estate agent looking to do a couple of deals a month, all the way to teams that have over 100 agents and you're looking to generate more leads for your team. Wholesalers that are looking to generate more seller leads, all the way to wholesalers that are looking to do many, many deals per month. Go to www.rocketleadservices.com and go ahead and book your free consultation. Again, that is www.rocketleadservices.com and book your free consultation. Now, let's get back to the show.
Like they don't want to let go.
Yeah.
They don't want their people to leave them, so therefore they try to hold too tight.
Yeah.
And then their people ultimately end up wanting to leave anyways, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Andy, you're like, hey, dude, I can build my own brand. I can do this. I can do that. Like, what did he do differently?
Well, he's given us the number one, the security. He's given us security within themselves. It's like talking about the cars. A lot of people find their security in cars and houses and material things, but he's given us and able to build the security inside ourselves. So I've had the security inside myself from working with him. He pays us very well. He allows us to go and kill it. He's never threatened to fire us. He said, listen, I'll never fire you. I'll never let you go unless you backstab me, you lie to me, you cheat to me, or whatever it is, right? I'm never gonna grow. I'll be patient with you, whether you're killing it and you're putting up a few $1,000s a month, or you're literally the foundation of the company. Whatever it is, I'll be by you for life. So what we really preach is a brotherhood in our family and in our culture. See, I say family.
Culture.
It's our team. It's our family. Yeah. It's our company, but it's our family first. And that's what we've built. And the biggest thing is you guys may see the Elliott Group for what it is right now, but 3 years ago, we were in a 700 square foot conference room with 20 people. So we've all taken a good pride in building this thing together as a group.
What do you think are some things that allowed you to build that type of culture? Like you, him, everybody. What was involved in building that culture? The phenomenal atmosphere, because like a lot of cultures do. Like and I've done it the wrong way, right? So like I'll give you an example. I've built I think probably like 10 companies, and I probably screwed it up 7 times, right? Like I've had 1,000 employees that have worked for me.
Yeah.
And I've done it the wrong way more times than I can count, right? And it finally dawned on me a couple years ago, like, whoa, like, and it all kind of clicked on, like, hey, I got to build an incredible culture, right? And I realized there was a huge difference between an incredible culture and a bad culture, a culture where people are toxic and selfish and so on and so forth, right? So I know what I did. What did you guys do?
Well, first of all, we're all underdogs. So no one that like is in our company was like the prima donnas. Like we get people all the time that like every single day are texting in, calling, what can I do to work for you? I'm a badass closer. I'm this. Dude, I'm sorry, but like I don't give a fuck. We train people. I would rather take an 8-car hand with the heart to go and win, to go and kill it and make a bunch of money and build up, than someone who thinks that he's the best because he's not going to fit in with the culture. So it started with us being underdogs, with us having the right heart. And again, Andy taught us to be the leaders. So as much as he was leading the team, the way that he trained us is saying, listen, I'm never going to fire you. You're good. This is our company. This is our company.
Wow. Powerful.
You guys have the ability to do pretty much whatever you want. You guys have the ability to build brands. You guys have the ability to do all these things because I need you guys to help grow. So a big thing was just us going out and doing team building things together, and really we're all in alignment. When you're around people and you're around the circle that all think the same way and believe the same things, it's very easy to have the right culture. And also too, we don't work for money. At the end of the day, if you believe in the vision, you know that the money's going to come. But most people, they'll go and leave for more money.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll pay you 10, 20 grand more. Hey, I'll give you a bonus.
Shiny object, bro.
Yeah, people leave for shiny object syndrome, when in reality, the patience and the discipline for building where you're at right now is what was really going to get you rich in the first place. But people run the circle of life, going to chase a paycheck, and they never really build anything great.
And I wonder why that is. Like, is it social media? I mean, how do we get here? Like, where people just jump and jump and jump and jump and jump, and they do it in relationships. Divorce is 50% in America. Second marriage is 65%. Third marriage is 80%, right? So it gets worse as you go. And the same thing's true with business, bro. I mean, the amount of people I've had that have worked for me that jump, man, the grass is greener. I had a guy leave me last week where kid was making $30,000 a month, and he's gonna go make 5 somewhere else. I already know, dude. He's just not gonna make what he was making here.
It boils back to some of the same things I've said earlier. It's entitlement and ego. They think that they're better than they actually are. When in reality, you gave them the path and you gave them the runway to be able to make the money that they're making. Chances are that kid probably never made $30,000 in his life. Made $30,000, thought he was hot shit. Got an opportunity somewhere else, wanted to go and build his name. Got crushed. When in reality, he could have been your right hand man. You would have allowed him to grow and do all the right things. But people oftentimes bite the hand that feeds them because of the ego and entitlement.
I've seen it so many times, bro. I'm sure you guys have seen it too. You can't avoid that.
Yeah,
you're gonna have people that do that no matter 100%. What, right? The key, I think, is to minimize that as much as you can.
Yeah.
What do you think social media is bad for other than that? I mean, are there other things like comparing and do you try to stay away from that?
Yeah, dude, I don't give a fuck what anybody posts, what anybody does. I don't really look at anybody else. I'm worried about really putting out good value, and I know that the market will reward that. If I put out exactly what I need to put out, the market will see that. Yeah. But nowadays, social media just isn't real. Look at guys, and I don't know how deep down the funnel you are or everybody is that's watching this. There's fake verified accounts all over that are not real. I mean, we get DMs all the time. I know you get them where it's like, they're like, hey, Austin. It's like, dude, like, are you even in America? Like, there's so many, there's this persona and all this fake thing. So a lot of what you see on social media isn't real. And actually, sometimes it's weird when people come into your office because they think that you're, living a certain life or what's on social media. It's a glorified version of it's your best version. It's a glorified version of what you're already doing. So people go in, they expect to see you like doing nothing but shooting podcasts all day and recording Instagram videos. And it's like, bro, I'm fucking working 99% of the time. 1% of the time, I'm shooting content to be able to, put out what I'm doing, because it's just like advertising. You can't run a business without having the right ads. But nowadays, everything is moving towards organic, and that's where the guys who are organic and are real are winning.
100%. What do you do to stay motivated?
Me?
Yeah.
Just being grateful, man.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like everything good is coming my way. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and it was like, dude, I already have like everything that I dreamt of being successful, and it all happened so fast. So, all I really need to do is just do more. I'm a big people person. So I really want to build people, and I want to impact the lives of millions. So at the end of the day, once the money situation, once you're out of the scarcity zone, your why really changes from, I want to be rich and be successful to impact and to grow. And if you impact people and you really do a good job and you're a professional at what you do, the money will come. But most people aren't patient enough for that. They don't really realize that or won't believe what we're telling them, that you really have to just, help people first, and the money will come.
There's a saying out there that says, you talk about being grateful, and that's what keeps you motivated. I completely agree. I think being grateful will change your life. You know what I mean? But there's a saying where it's like successful people aren't always motivated, but they do what they said they were going to do, even when they don't feel like doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you have bad days, but you do it anyway.
100%. Discipline. It's like, listen, some days I'll go through tons and tons of calls, and I'll have days where there's nothing lined up, really. And I'll have days where it's back-to-back, big deal, this training, whatever. And there's days where it's like, dude, I'm calling to sell, a couple $100 courses again. Yeah. It's like you can never get entitled or think that you're too good to help the little guys out.
I love that, dude. You were talking about your girlfriend a minute ago. What have you done in, I know I always like to talk about this on the podcast towards the end, because I think that people don't talk about it enough, like relationships and entrepreneurship, right? I told my girlfriend when I started dating her, I said, look, it ain't gonna be like anything you've ever done before,
That's so funny.
And every day she's like, wow, like you weren't kidding,
Yeah.
Because I'm on all the time, right? I don't turn off. We could be at dinner, I'm on. We could be in the movies, I'm on. How do you balance that? How do you navigate that? How do you plan to navigate it in the future? Like what works for you?
Yeah, so you just have to communicate, and you have to like almost kind of it's funny what you said is just the truth. Like I told Val, it was like, this is, and a lot of guys are like, oh, you never find a guy like me. It was like, listen, I'm living a certain life, and I'm after certain things, and I need your support. I need you to understand the life that I'm living, because I'm not a 9-to-5 guy. I'm not going to come home and we're going to have dinner every single night. It's not going to be your traditional life that you may think whatever. Like what I'm after is going to require sacrifice. A lot of it is communicating what you really want, and just understanding, and also like setting expectations. It's like you're going to have date night, you commit to date night. Or if you're going to, watch a movie, put your phone down, throw it in the trash can while you're home. While you're at work and really put it in. And then when you're with your girl and you commit to a certain time, put the work aside. But a lot of people, they can never turn on or off, and that's why your girl don't really love you, or don't really, you're not really building the relationship you want to build, is because you never put work to the side for the time that you commit to her.
I love that. Do you think that both parties in the relationship have to be growing and evolving at a certain, not necessarily the same pace, but I see a lot of relationships where one person's rapidly evolving, right?
Yeah.
And the other person's not evolving at all. Do you think both people to some degree have to be evolving?
They have to grow at the same pace. And that doesn't necessarily mean growing doesn't mean I'm making more money, she makes more money. Or I'm getting like ripped. It's not that. It's just in the mindset and the way that you communicate. You guys have to be on the same page in what you're doing at all times, where you're going, what you're learning. And then guess what? A byproduct of that, let's just say I want to get in more shape. Well, if I'm the example for her and I'm the leader in the relationship, if I'm working out every day, if I'm setting the example, well, if we have a good relationship, she's going to follow. Right? Like a lot of men don't set a good example in the relationship, but they wonder why the relationship sucks. Because you don't set a good example. You don't, take control or communicate what you want and where you're going. That's why she's lost, bro.
Yeah, I could not agree more, dude. I love that. What's the game plan now? What's the future for Danny?
The game plan is just to build this thing as big as we can. Right now, 2023, we're just prepping out a lot of content for our Lightspeed for the entrepreneur platform. For those of you guys that are looking for sales training, we're building out a platform right now for solar, for real estate, for insurance, for all sales fields. We have a giant automotive platform that we've had tons of dealers on it, but right now we're building out a platform. That's our next step, and just growing our team and just doing more. I want to be more known. I want to be on more podcasts. I want to do more speaking. Just want to do more. I feel like I've really dialed in my message. I've really dialed in my discipline and everything that I need to do. So all I really need to do is just do more.
I love that, dude. What would be your biggest piece of advice to either yourself, if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, life advice, business, relationship, when you're 16, 18 years old, what would that piece of advice be?
Don't hang out with fucking losers, and just decide to become who you want to become now. Start doing the things that you need to do. Don't lie to yourself. A lot of times we tell ourselves we're something and we think that we're something, but we look in the mirror, we know that's not truly who we are. So I would just say go and attack every single day. I would say write down who you want to become on a piece of paper, become really clear on your future, and then go put a game plan in place to become that person immediately.
I love that, dude. Where can people find you, bro?
They can find me at official Danny Klein on Instagram, and they can follow Andy Elliott on YouTube at Andy Elliott.
I appreciate you being on the podcast, man. It was a pleasure. I'm sure we'll do this again at some point.
Yeah.
I like people that are here local to come on, 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Give everybody an update. We're going to blow this podcast up. That's the goal, right?
We're going to blow it up, baby.
Lewis Howe style. I want to come on yours if you have one.
Oh, 100%.
Or get on some content with you too. So I appreciate you being here, man. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching on podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, really anywhere, make sure you leave a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, drop in the comment section down below. If you have any questions, like the video, subscribe if you have not already. Danny, I appreciate you being here, brother.
Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks for watching.